All right, so imagine you have been tasked with building out a new data center and you've just been provided with 50 servers and you've got to provision what those servers are going to do. Some of them are assigned as part of a vCenter environment. Some of these servers are going to be database servers. You're going to have a couple of Exchange servers and so on and so forth. All right, so this is a rather complex task you've got ahead of you. You're going to have to identify, first of all, which servers are conducting which tasks, doing the initial hardware configurations of those servers, connecting them to the network, and getting your network configuration correct per server type. Then you've also got to install the hypervisors for the vCenter environment, and then of course all the operating systems. So what if your task was made easier? What if you just connected everything to the network and then you only had to do your network config one time? And what if instead of going to each server individually and provisioning the hardware, you just create a profile for each server type and you push it out onto the servers that need it? That is the problem that Cisco UCS addressed when Cisco introduced that product into the industry in 2009. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, my name is Rich and welcome to the Rich Tech Guy channel. And as I said, we're going to go into the Cisco UCS platform and what it provides and how it simplifies your server management. But before I do that, if you like that content, go ahead and hit the like button. And also, if you're not subscribed to this channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below too. All right, so what is Cisco UCS? Well, from the hardware standpoint, Cisco UCS consists of various product lines. These include the B series, or the blade servers. You have the Cisco UCS C series, which are the rack mount servers. There's the Cisco UCS S series, which is a storage server platform. And now there is the new UCS X series, which is a modular compute system that will, as time goes on, take the place of B series. There is also a Cisco UCS E series, which is a scaled down compute platform that plugs into the network module on a router, but I'm not going to go into that particular platform. Now, in addition to these servers, UCS also has fabric interconnects. And fabric interconnects are built on Cisco Nexus switches and are used to manage the Cisco UCS environment. Now, the fabric interconnects are optional for C series deployments and also for S series deployments, but they are mandatory for the B series and the X series deployments. Now, what does the fabric interconnect do? Well, in addition to being a switch, as I said, it was built off of a Cisco Nexus switch, it's got some additional stuff on there for managing the platform. Now, initially, at the time of launch, and even up until now, there has been UCS Manager, which was the management software installed directly on the fabric interconnects to allow you to manage your UCS environment. But that's going away. Now, what's replacing this is Intersight. Now, unlike UCS Manager, Cisco Intersight is out in the cloud, whereas UCS Manager is installed on the fabric interconnects. Now, the fabric interconnects under Intersight can operate in one of two ways. You can have UCS managed fabric interconnects connected to Intersight, where UCS Manager still resides on the fabric interconnects. But if you want to get the full functionality of Intersight, what you really want to do is put these interconnects into what is called Intersight managed mode. Now, if you're already working with UCS and you have UCS Manager, be careful about what you do before that because it is a disruptive process. It will wipe the interconnects clean and you're going to have to rebuild. So there are some tools that Cisco has made available for converting a UCS Manager configuration into an Intersight configuration. But if you put it in Intersight managed mode, what that does is it removes UCS Manager from the interconnects and replaces it with the ability for Intersight to just communicate directly through your interconnects to your servers. Now, Intersight gives you everything that UCS Manager did plus more. You have the ability under Intersight to manage multiple UCS domains through a single pane of glass management. You have the ability for automated updates, automated compatibility checks. There is connected tax support through Intersight. So if something goes wrong with your system, TAC is probably going to be made aware of it before you are, or at the very least at the same time if you've set up your call home feature. So in addition to all of that, there are also other features that you can bolt onto Intersight, things like Intersight Workload Optimizer. And what Intersight Workload Optimizer does is it will keep track of the applications running inside of your UCS environment, and it will also even monitor the applications you might have running out in the public cloud, such as Amazon Web Services, Azure, or Google Cloud. And it will identify resource issues, bottlenecks, and come up with a means for or suggestions for improving that. And you can either have it present you with those suggestions and let you decide how to go about it, or you can even put Workload Optimizer into a full-blown automated mode to where it will make the changes for you. Getting back to the core of UCS, what is it about how UCS is built that makes it so special? Well, there are two words: stateless computing. Now, it's a great marketing term, but what does it actually mean? So when your servers are taken out of the box and they're hooked up to a Fabric Interconnect, whether they are going to be managed through UCS Manager or through Cisco Intersight, they have no identifying characteristics when they first boot up. So what's the server's MAC address? Doesn't have one. What about the worldwide name? Nothing. UUID? None. Boot order? BIOS configuration? Device priority? No, no, and no. It's not until that information is actually pushed onto the server that it develops its identity. So how do we push that information to the server? Well, let me introduce you to the 3 P's of Cisco UCS: pools, policies, and profiles. All right. Once you've configured these 3 things, you have unlocked the power of UCS. You need a MAC address, a worldwide name, a UUID. You create pools for that. And then once you've got those pools created, you're going to create some policies. And you need policies for BIOS configuration, boot order, device order. All right, you create your policies. And you've got your pools and your policies. And now you bundle that all together into a profile. And you take that profile and you push it out onto the server. And now the server has its identity and will boot up exactly as you need it to be. Okay, so at this point you're thinking, but Rich Tech Guy, if I'm configuring a profile for every server, how is that better or more time-saving than pulling a server out of the box and just configuring it? Well, let me introduce you to essentially what is the cheat code for Cisco UCS. And you know, like you've got the famous cheat code up, down, left, right, BA. Well, in UCS, it's called a template. Now, imagine you have 10 servers in Cisco UCS and you have to configure them into a VMware vSphere environment. So what you do is you go and create your pools, your MAC address, worldwide name, UUID pools. You go create all that. You create your policies. You then, instead of bundling them into a profile, you bundle them into a template. And you've only done the configuration once. At that point, all you need to do is say, give me 10 VMware vSphere servers. And in less time than it takes to get a cup of coffee, you have a VMware vSphere environment ready to go. All you have to do is install ESXi and deploy vCenter and add those servers into vCenter. But there's more. Let's say it's 6 months later and you get another 5 servers. And what you're going to have to do now is add those into the vSphere environment. You just go to your template, say, give me 5 more profiles. It does that, it assigns it to those servers, and now all you have to do is install ESXi and add it into vSphere. You can go tell your boss it'll take you 3 days to do all that and go take the other 2 days off. You know, unless of course your boss has seen this video, in which case I'm sorry. But if you're the boss watching, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the like button too. All right, so let's do a little demo. You want to see this in action? All right, so I am now logged into UCS Manager, and first I'm going to show you UCS Manager, and then we're going to hop over to Intersight, and I'm going to show you how everything works from that perspective. So just to get a view here, when you log into UCS Manager, you're going to be brought into this equipment page here, And this is going to cover, basically just show you a topology of everything you've got in your UCS environment. And one of the things that you can go through is you can go and check all your chassis, the servers installed in those chassis. You can just drill down deeper into the servers. You can select the server, and you do have these color-coded fault warnings here. So this particular one here, it's showing some faults. I can go do some checks there. A lot of the reason here is just fair notice. I'm actually using a UCS emulator, as I don't have access to a UCS system that I can just use for demo purposes. So, by the way, this is also available on the DevNet Sandbox if you want to play around in it, and I will put the link up above on how you can access that. And so, if I go down in here, I can also select the fabric interconnects, and on the fabric interconnects, interfaces can be assigned as either server facing or uplink ports if they're going out to the rest of your network. There's also some of these interfaces are called unified ports, so you can actually set them, instead of being Ethernet interfaces, you can set them to be fiber channel interfaces for a SAN connection out to a storage. Now, when you're going through here, there are the different tabs, and as I talked about the 3 Ps, you have the pools, policies, and profiles. So, if I scroll all the way down here, I've got some pools, and for example, I haven't created a server pool, but I could create one if I wanted to. And that way I could then select, let's say I wanted all the B200 servers, or maybe I wanted the B200 servers with a specific processor and memory, because an amount of memory, because those are the ones that are going to go into a vSphere environment. So I could set that up in a server pool, and then as I create service profiles, I can tell them to go to that pool to get the server and associate with that and push the profile onto the server. There's also UUID profile. This is, of course, required. I do actually have some service profiles created that are using some of these, but this is just a pool of UUIDs. If I go into the network side, I've got the LAN side. Now on the top here, this section here under LAN cloud, and also you've got a few other things here indicating fabric interconnects. If I want to create VLANs, I would do that up here. And so this would configure the VLANs on the fabric interconnects. Now, whether or not you push those down to the servers, that depends on your service profile configuration. And then again, down at the bottom, I've got some pools. I have an IP pool, and this pool has KVM IPs, so I can manage the servers through those KVM IPs. I've also got some MAC pools created, and because I have a Fabric Interconnect A and a Fabric Interconnect B, the way I have the network interface cards is if they connect to Fabric Interconnect A, I want them to pull from MAC pool A, where I have this particular octet here set at A0. Fabric Interconnect B, I set that same octet to B0. So that way, if I'm troubleshooting something and maybe there's a network connectivity issue, I can just simply look at the MAC address and I know which path I'm working with. Now, the other thing that you can create here is, as I've talked about, templates, the cheat code of UCS. Well, it's not just profile templates. You don't just create a template for a profile. You can create a template for your network interface cards, or on the SAN side, you can create a template for the HBAs. And there's, so this is a template here for the NIC here to be created. And so when I've then associated that template into the service profile template, so as the service profile gets created to be pushed out onto the server, it will go to this template and it will create a new network interface card with all the information necessary for the server to work. For example, which MAC pool to choose. I've got an MTU size. I can go into, these are the various VLANs assigned. I can actually go in and say I want to set that as the native VLAN. And because I have this as an updating template, where if I make a change to the template, any profiles or NICs or whatever the object is that was created from that template, it will go and change that. So in the really old days of UCS, it would just go and change it, and your servers would suddenly reboot on you, and that could be bad. Say Monday at 10 a.m. when everybody's using the services available on that server. Now it actually asks if I want to go ahead and apply these changes. Because this is a whole demo environment and using an emulator, I can go ahead and say yes. And you can also even make a setting change in the administrative tab. This is the admin tab here, where you can just set it to, you can make the changes, but they won't actually happen until you enter a maintenance window, let's say Sunday morning between 2 and 4 a.m. Again, as I go on here, I'll just go ahead and actually get back to here. So as I talked about the updating template, this is the initial template over here. And if I set it to an initial template, if I were to go and make a change to the template, whatever I've already created from that template, any object created from that, would not receive the change. So this would be a way where if I am creating from the template and I want that change to be pushed out globally, it's a much easier step for me to just go in, make the change, set a native VLAN that I hadn't set there, save the changes. Yes, I want to push the changes out. And it does it to everything I've already created from that template. If that was an initial template, I could create it on the template, but if I want to create it on the objects created from it, I have to go into each profile or each of that object type and make that change manually. So there are pros and cons to both, and it really depends on how you want to deploy your infrastructure. On the SAN side, again, we've got the exact same thing here. I've got a template for the HBAs. In the SAN cloud, because you typically want distinct vSANs for each path of the fabric, I have a vSAN assigned to fabric A, I have a separate vSAN assigned to fabric B, whereas on the LAN side and the VLANs I created, they went to both fabric interconnects. And then I also have the pools down here, where I have a worldwide node name pool. If you're not familiar with Fiber Channel, go ahead and watch my video. I'll link it up above and in the description down below about storing data on the data center. And that where I go into, I give a brief overview about Fiber Channel, but a worldwide node name is the node name that is, the worldwide name that is applied to the device itself. And then you have, I've got two different pools for the worldwide port names. The worldwide port name is assigned to the interface on the device. And so again, because I have the two distinct fabric paths here, I've got A and B, whether or not it's connecting to Fabric Interconnect A and Fabric Interconnect B. And then I have that defined and set inside of the template here for the HBA. Also, after that, I'll go right back up to the servers here, and in the service profiles, I've already got some of them created. So let's say I've already done my deployment. Now I've got some new servers I want to add into that. I can go into this service profile template that I've created. I've got the network interface stuff already set here. I can actually drill down into these here. So I've got my VNICs, I can drill down further, and I can actually take a look at how that's configured. I've assigned the adapter policy to VMware because if this were a real server, let's say I was actually going to go deploy ESXi onto it. So And now I've got the template created. All that stuff that I've shown you, I've thrown it all into this template for the service profile. And now if I right click on it, or I can either right click on it or I can go to the general tab for it, and there's create service profiles from template. If I right click on it, same thing shows up here. And so if I click on that, it's going to ask for the naming prefix. Well, I've already got a naming prefix for the service profiles I've created, so I'm just going to go with that. And okay, I've already started at number 1, so I've created 5 of them, so now I'm going to start at number 6. And let's say I'm adding another 5 servers, so I want to create 5 more instances and go. And just as I'd said earlier, faster than it would take to go get a cup of coffee, here we go. I have created instances or profiles 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now, because I don't have a server pool assigned, these are not actually assigned to servers. So if I go and look at it, it says unassociated. I can change that with change service profile association. I can go ahead and select a server, and let's say I want this B series server here. There's a B200 here. I want to grab that one. Now it's going to again do a warning and say this is going to be disruptive. It's going to cause that server to reboot. Well, if the server doesn't have a profile associated to it, it's not doing anything anyways, so I'm just going to go ahead and say yes. And now if you're waiting for something to happen in UCS Manager, you can go ahead and click on that FSM tab underneath that area, say that service profile or a server or a chassis if you're discovering chassis. And this is going to show you what it's actually doing. So you can keep an eye on that, and of course when the service profile is actually created, or it has been created, but once it's finished its association and is pushed onto the server, if this were a real server, I would be able to boot it right up, and I could have a virtual CD or DVD of the ESXi installer for VMware, and just boot it up and start installing VMware. So this is how it is on the UCS Manager side. Now I'm going to go over to Intersight, and we're going to take a look at how things are managed through Intersight, and as that is the new way going forward for managing your UCS environment, as this FSM is just about to complete, and there it goes, it hit 100%. I now have a server, it says it's powered off, but it shows the associated server that it's attached to. All right, so let's go into Intersight. Now for Intersight, you have intersight.com, and I'm going to go ahead and sign in with a Cisco ID. So give me a moment. Okay, and we are into Intersight, and the way I've got it coming in here is I've gone into my dashboard here, and a little behind the scenes thing, I had to delay producing this video because Cisco made some changes to Intersight. In the past, everything was basically right here on this menu bar. I can't actually access it while I'm on my dashboard because they've added this little service area here. So, all right, now I'm into my dashboard. I'm going to go into the system one first and just show some things here. This is essentially all your administrative stuff with Intersight. And then I'm going to go in and if I have targets, so the targets are the UCS devices that I am adding into Intersight. So I've already got that UCS domain added. It's a UCS managed domain. And if I wanted to add something new to it, I could go up here, I could say claim a new target, and based off of what it is I am adding into Intersight, I would select the option, and there is a claim process depending on what it is you're adding, and then you would be able to add the new target. So now in Intersight, back in these services, so I talked about how you have some bolt-on things you can add. Well, this is where you have things like this cloud orchestrator. There's explore more services, so I could go get Intersight Workload Optimizer if I wanted to, and if I had the license for that. to go ahead and add that in and bolt that on. But I'm going to go into infrastructure service. This is where you manage UCS in Intersight. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull up, say, the chassis. And here I've got some chassis. Now, if I want to go ahead and manage these chassis, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the, actually I'm not going to be able to do that here, so let's go into servers. Now I want to go ahead and I want to actually manage a specific server here. I've got these 3 dots here, and this is a UCS C-Series server. So on these 3 dots over here, it'll say Launch UCS Manager. So now it's going to go into UCS Manager, where I just was, because this is a UCS managed domain within Intersight. So these fabric interconnects are still in UCS managed mode, and that actually limits some of the functionality of Intersight to where I'm essentially using Intersight to open up UCS Manager. And what happens here is it just goes in here, and it's just like UCS Manager, except it's got some little Intersight coloring on the side here, and it went straight to the server that I wanted to manage. And it also shows the UCS domain up on top, so basically a bit of a color change. Here it just says UCS Manager, this says UCS Manager, and the name of the domain that I am managing. All right, now let's say I had something configured in Intersight managed mode. Things go a little bit differently in Intersight, and it's a little bit more powerful. So what I would be in here is I would actually go under this configure section, and I would select, say, profiles. And if you have something in Intersight managed mode, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to create a domain profile. So those fabric interconnects you've added, that's your domain. And all of that stuff in UCS Manager about the fabric interconnects, where let's say configuring out the interface types, or going into the LAN tab and configuring VLANs, setting unified ports as fiber channel ports, or configuring out vSAN, stuff like that. All of that in Intersight managed mode of Intersight is done through the domain profile. So this is essentially where I create the fabric interconnects, and then once I do that and I deploy the domain profile onto the Intersight managed mode, or IMM fabric interconnects, then it will actually do all the configuration. Any chassis or servers down below those fabric interconnects that are connected up to them will then be discovered. The other thing is you can then go into templates. Again, we've got the profiles, the pools, the policies, the 3 Ps of UCS. They're still there. But now you have, and then you also have the templates, the cheat code really of UCS. I've already created a template, and one of the things that I just want to show is that you've got your pools here. I've got my various pools created. When it comes to policies, though, in Intersight managed mode of UCS, you have a lot of policies. In fact, if I were to just expand this out and say 50 policies per page, this will show all of the policies. And the reason is, if I were to go through and create, let's say I wanted to create a new template. So I'm going to go and create UCS server profile template. Let's just say I'm going to do RTG demo 2, fabric interconnect attached, and then next. So for the BIOS, select a policy. So I got to go create a policy here, or if I have one already created, I can use that if it works with this particular template. Boot order, same thing. Now I've got one already created. If maybe I jumped the gun and I didn't create one, at least with UCS Manager or with Intersight in IMM mode, I can say create profile, or create the policy, and it will bring me into the wizard to create that policy, and I can go through the steps to do that. So then as I go, and I'm just going to go ahead and close that out. Now I've got a template here already created. So if I were to select that, and I can go in, I can edit the template and everything. But what I'm actually going to do here is I'll select this template I've created, and over on those three dots over on the other side, instead of create service profiles from template, it's derive profiles. So I can go ahead and derive the profiles, a little bit different terminology. Another change in the terminology is in Intersight, it's not a service profile, it's a server profile, which actually kind of makes more sense. But anyways, all right, let's say I'm just going to assign it later, and I want to create, let's say, 5 profiles from it. I'll just go ahead and click next. And a lot of the same stuff. Now it's actually going to show me, based off of what I have created, that perhaps I don't want that word derived in there, and I want to just change it like that. Let's say I had some, so I want to go ahead, and I already had maybe 10 servers. I can start it at 11. If I really wanted to, I wanted to just count even ones. I can do things like that. So, and then it will show you what the profile here looks like, and then I can go into next. It'll do a little summary screen, and go ahead and start deriving the profiles. Now I have to go over into the profile side of the menu, so you don't see it right away like you did in UCS Manager. Select the UCS server profiles, and there you have it. You have the profiles that I created, 11 through 15. There it is. I've shown you the UCS Manager version of it, but because while UCS Manager is still active at the time of making this video, it will be going away within the next couple of years or so. And so at this point, I've just wanted to show you the way it's handled in Intersight as well, so you can get a view of both. And really, I would emphasize working more with Intersight. So if you're working with the UCS domain and you've got the Intersight licenses, go ahead and get it all into Intersight. If you're actually expecting, say, new UCS servers, it's likely going to come in with an Intersight license already. So go ahead and get used to Intersight, and as that is the way forward. Alright, so consider that your introduction to Cisco UCS. Now in the near future, I'm going to be putting out a video about best practices for UCS. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, so that way you'll be able to watch that when it comes out. Unless it's already come out, in which case go ahead and just hit the subscribe button anyway, and then go watch the video. And you've made it to the end of this video, so go ahead and hit that like button down below. And also I'm going to post some links to some UCS resources. They are going to be affiliate links, so go ahead and check those out. And as always, keep improving, keep learning, keep studying, and I will see you in the next video.